Okay. Okay. We're going live stream on my page. Okay. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. We're live. And now I'm trying to get us back on. It seems to have a real drag, but we're going to go on. Okay. I want to introduce Miss Diny van de Bout. Am I saying it correctly?
Diny van den Bout.
Oh, okay. That's way we don't hear me. We'll just have this going. Okay. Yeah, did I pronounce your last name correctly, Denny?
Van den Bout.
Okay. Bout. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Denny.
Well, I'm living in the Netherlands, working as a coach for the past 21 years. And I just got married in August this year after living together with my now husband for 46 years. We have a daughter, 29 years, and we live in the country, rural area of the Netherlands, close to the woods. And I just received my first pension, so I'm about to make a career change.
Okay. And we could talk about that a little bit later, but what we wanted to find out, what originally interested you in ancestral healing?
I came across a message from you on LinkedIn, and it was intuition. I hardly knew anything about my ancestors. And I even forgot about my mother, who died in 1979, and my father, who died in 2009. I didn't feel a connection with them anymore. And when I saw your message, it just hit a soft spot in my heart. Oh, wow, I must connect.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because for some reason, I thought you had been doing some ancestral healing before you connected with me, but you had done some other types of healings and trainings, right?
Yeah, lots and lots and lots, but never with ancestors.
Okay, well, that's great. So that you just answered um, my question. And so your first healing, that was well, it was scheduled as a group healing.
Yeah.
But you didn't make the groups because of the time difference, which was okay, because I remember emailing you and saying, well, the time that it's scheduled, it's like 2 a.m. in the Netherlands. And so we rescheduled, which was good because I remember that was a really nice healing and it was a longer one. So what did you get from that first healing?
I reconnected with my parents. I wrote my father a letter, and I wrote a poem for my mother. And at the time, I didn't have any relationships with my siblings. And I sent my siblings a message telling me that I wrote a letter for my father and a poem for my mother, And if they were interested, I would share it with them. And I shared it with four of my brother and three sisters. And ever since we are in contact again.
Wow.
And reconnecting deeply.
Whoa. That's great, because I didn't know that was all of that was still happening. I'm going to try and type in, but it doesn't seem like there's anybody waiting to get in for the live. So we're on live on my live stream page because he said I didn't have permission from my group. So that's good. So how have your siblings responded when you've told them about ancestral healing? How have they responded in any way, like interested or like just happy that you've connected?
They were interested, some of them. I'm the oldest of 8, and I've reconnected with 4 of them. So 3 were not interested and got a little pissed off because I contacted them, which is okay. Their life, but the others are really strong responses. And what I've learned, early this year, I started to get hip problems, really in pain, and walking became more and more difficult. And I found out that 2 of my sisters and my brother have the same problems.
Wow.
And I had the intuition that it's rage and anger and building up over deep grief. We were never allowed to express emotions in our family. And I told my younger brother about it, and he started to cry, and he said, well, all of my life, my body has been screaming for softness, for kindness, for love. I never listened, and now I'm paying a big toll by, he's also hardly able to walk, and he's 8 years younger than me. So the first healing started healing the whole family.
And that's, yes, because that's what ancestral healing is for. It's for healing the lineage, and the lineage that is energetically gone, not physically here, and the lineage that's here and the lineage that's going to continue. And with so many siblings, how many nieces and nephews do you have?
Oh, dozens.
Yeah. So that's, that's a great, just your doing this alone opens up for all this huge lineage that you have, that you've got. With 8 siblings, that's a lot. That's a big family. And
Yeah.
to even have 4 after, because once you grow up and then the older people get, sometimes it's like, yeah, just because we were born together doesn't mean we really have to be friends. That's why some people are in their families. And then you can't really kind of force things. And then it's like you find sometimes your real support comes from people who aren't your family members because they just don't understand you or support you. So you've done real well. And I'm happy that you've been able to submit and reignite those relationships with your siblings. And you've been able, and the things you've written have been really so heartfelt and open, you know. So what okay, so you had done that group healing, and then you've been really supportive. And then I want to ask you, why did you sign up for the For Healing series?
Because I felt that I hadn't reached what I aimed to reach. I hadn't achieved the kind of freedom, the joy, and the inner peace that I've known as a very little child. And I'm longing to reclaim that.
Right. And as you reclaim it for your ancestors too, because that's the way it works. This is an energetic thing, and it's really just an opening. And on one level, anybody could do it, just taking the time, but it helps to have a facilitation, because that's how I really see the ancestral healing, is that I'm facilitating your own natural healing ability to connect with your own ancestors. And it's just a matter that some people are more open or more sensitive to the connections, these types of connections, and can actually feel things physically. One of the women, in fact, both other two women I've worked with individually have talked about having physical sensations too during the healings, which even I don't have. But that's why I say the energy moves, and it does move, and the energy does exist in our thoughts and our words. Because if you don't think about your ancestors, you do forget about them. Like you said, and you started thinking about your parents, and then that leads to you thinking about and wanting to communicate with your siblings. And then that can lead to eventually the opening up, the talking about, or the sharing of those really, some of them are painful things that your family was never able to talk about.
Well,
Yeah.
my mother died of ALS, and the youngest was 6 years old when she
Oh,
died.
wow.
And my father had been disabled for a couple of years and alcoholic. So he wasn't able to talk about her illness and her death. And it was, in a way, such a relief that she died, because all she could do was blink with her eyes. She was
Oh,
paralyzed
wow.
from the top to her toes. And it was hard to witness, so hard to witness, gasping for air, hardly able to breathe in the end. And that's when she passed away, we all shut up. Okay, it's over. We don't talk about it anymore. And she was the center of the family. All evolved around her. She was the one who made home a home. And losing her was totally devastating for all of us. But we were unable to talk about it. And well, after all these years, now we're starting to talk about it. And I've always been the one responsible for the little ones. Last night, I asked my mother to take that responsibility back, because it was so hard being responsible for the little ones all those years. And today was the first day I had to walk miles and miles. And the day before yesterday, I wasn't able to walk at all. And today I walked with just a little bit of pain, but without limping. I just, the weight is from my shoulders. And I couldn't do that by myself because I've always had that responsibility on my shoulders. And I was so afraid if I drop it, I will be crushed in an instant by the weight of what I've been trying to push uphill. Like I've been like Sisyphus rolling this big rock uphill, and if I let go, it will just roll over me and I'll be finished. And last night in bed, I reconnected with my mother and asked her, please take that weight off my shoulders. And I cried out of joy and relief and a sense of freedom for not having to be responsible for the well-being and of all my little brothers and sisters. So that's what I got from the second healing.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Because once you start making the connection, the energetic connection, and people say, well, it's just a thought. Yeah, it is a thought. But it's just that thought and that communication is energy. And it's heard, and you were, obviously physically relieved and able to walk.
Absolutely.
And that's just wonderful because it is a weight that should be let go of. They are grown now. And then your mother's come, even from the healings we've done already, she's been released of some things that might have been lingering. And then her response was taking it off of you, which was really beautiful. So this is wonderful. So if for someone who's not had an ancestral healing, what would you say is one of the most important things or benefits that they get from doing an ancestral healing, even if they're not sure about it?
It's empowering and enriching, and it stirs such gratefulness for the life I got from my ancestors. It flipped my perception in a way that I hadn't anticipated. I feel humbled, I feel grateful, and I feel loved. Whereas before, I always felt inadequate, not being able to fulfill the standards, the thoughts in my head. I have to be responsible for the little ones, but never being able to really be of influence in their well-being. I was not able to prevent them from suffering from the death of my mother. I was not able to prevent them from the rage when my father was drunk and when he beat them up. So I always felt this nagging feeling of not being good enough. And the healing flipped that around. And For the first time, I feel that I'm a child. I'm not a child pretending to be an adult, pretending to be responsible for the whole world. I just feel safe and comfortable in my own skin. Like this huge circle around me of ancestors supporting me instead of having to do it all by myself.
Yes, and that's what it's about, is bringing that connection back into your life, because it hasn't been cultivated in our modern society so much. So thank you for sharing so much of your experience. And I'm glad and happy how it's been able to connect you with your siblings. And look forward to continuing the journey with you, because we still have more healings to come. So thank you, anyone who had the opportunity to listen. If you're listening on a replay, please share a hashtag replay. And if you have any questions, you can share them in the comments. And that's the best way. And if you're interested in participating in the Ancestral Healing Group next year, just DM, send me a message, or put your name in the comments and say interested. Thank you again, Diny. You have a wonderful day or evening where you
Evening.
are. And I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.